whom he supports, so stay tuned for that. Now, Rare Diseases Day is marked on the last day of February to raise awareness for rare conditions and to improve access to treatment and medical representation.
Well, one such disease is achalasia. Am I saying that correctly? Achalasia, yeah. It's a rare disorder that affects swallowing, and because it's so uncommon, many people might not have heard of it.
Yes, it affects around 6,000 people in the UK, making swallowing difficult and leading to severe weight loss, malnutrition and painful chest spasms. Well, joining us now in the studio is Silvia Davey, Chair of Achalasia Action, to share what they're calling for around Rare Diseases Day. Silvia, thank you so much for joining us. For anyone who hasn't heard of achalasia before, I know you're someone who suffers with that. Talk to us a bit about the symptoms and what people might experience.
Of course. So I developed achalasia when I was 17, but achalasia can impact people of all ages. So what I experienced when I first developed achalasia was essentially when I was eating, food was getting stuck here, so in my esophagus, and it just really wouldn't go down. So you know when you're eating a piece of bread, a big piece of bread really fast, and it kind of gets stuck and you need water. That was my first symptom. And that was happening every now and again when I was eating, but then it started happening every time I was swallowing. So that made eating incredibly difficult and painful. And I used to have to drink, well, I still do drink a lot of water whilst I'm eating, but I was really having to gulp loads of water in it. It was really painful at every gulp. And that led to quite a lot of weight loss. So a lot of people with achalasia, because of the difficulties they experience in swallowing, they lose weight because either they avoid food or they're regurgitating food as well, so they have to kind of get it out, and so it can be really unpleasant. Obviously, you experience a lot of pain, and it impacts on every part of your social life as well, and on your general life. People end up being malnourished, losing loads of weight, and that impacts on your everyday life and work life as well. And then people, unfortunately, also, you know, get very fatigued, experience anxiety and depression as well. So those are the impacts of achalasia.
What are the treatments? What can people do if they're suffering with this condition? What can they do?
So, I mean, obviously the first step is to get a diagnosis, and that's already quite difficult because there's low awareness of achalasia, even amongst the medical community. Getting a diagnosis can be complicated and can take quite a long time, and people can get misdiagnosed. In terms of treatment, so there is no cure, unfortunately. We don't even know what causes achalasia, so being able to find a cure is we're very far away from that. But there are some interventions that you can get, most of which are surgical.
Okay.
So I got a surgical intervention for my achalasia quite a few years ago. Unfortunately, these interventions sometimes don't work very well, and people need to have revisions or further interventions as well. Some can be very mild, so you can get, for example, a Botox injection to relax the entrance of your stomach, or it can go to, but this is very extreme, and when people are really, really unwell, it can go to having to remove the esophagus as well. Wow. I got a surgery called helesmyotomy, so that's a keyhole surgery. So it's quite invasive, but it worked well for me, fortunately.
Really glad to hear that. And just tell us a little bit now, actually, about what you do with Achalasia Action. Yeah. You're raising awareness. As you said, not a lot of people know about this disease. So what does the work involve? Yeah,
so we're a small patient-led charity, so everyone involved in the charity has the condition, or most people do, aside from our medical chair. What actually our first aim is to support people with achalasia and to provide really high quality information that enables people to understand the condition better. There is information out there, for example, on NHS websites as well, but we've really sought to kind of really provide accurate, simple, digestible information for people. As I said, we also provide peer support too. That's really important. People with achalasia can often feel very alone. So we provide peer support in groups, but also online. We kind of moderate online groups too. And we do provide one-to-one support for people who really, really need it. And in terms of awareness raising, that's our next big activity. As you said, many people don't know about achalasia, and even the medical community sometimes lacks awareness or information on the condition. So we aim to try and get people to even hear the word achalasia or know a bit about what the symptoms are.
Yeah.
Because the symptoms can be often confused with other conditions, it can often get misdiagnosed as well. So the more people understand what the symptoms are, the better that is. Yeah.
You mentioned that there's currently no cure because there's no real understanding of what causes it. Is that another goal of Achalasia Action, to try and eventually get to that point?
Absolutely. So our third goal is to support research and really to have that kind of patient-led research programme in place. But we started as a charity about 5 years ago, so that's a long way to go for us in terms of being able to raise the funds and the interest as well in supporting that research. But ultimately, that would be a fantastic goal, to be able to understand what causes achalasia and then find a cure.
Yeah.
But we are getting, some researchers and clinicians are really interesting and supportive of our cause, and we've had some really interesting research on even non-surgical interventions, so supporting more kind of the socialising aspect, and also kind of biochemical research too. So there is some out there, but not enough.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for joining us, Silvia. Really,
and hopefully that can raise some awareness as well of the condition. So
Absolutely.
thank you very much,
Thank you for
Silvia.
having me.